And the other important part is the three little dots. When you have the chat box open, bottom right, click the three dots, save the chat before you leave. In the event that you scram out of here and you need the chat, get a hold of me. I will have a copy of it available. Okay. And one other housekeeping tip: if you have background noises, whether it's screaming dogs or neighbors bouncing off the wall or ice falling off the roof, as it does here around the house now, mute yourself, please. And that way we can keep that sound level down. And I think I've covered most of the aspects. Margaret Ann, back over to you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Bernie. And yes, we did get live streaming. So just so you know, we are live on LinkedIn right now. And for your enjoyment, you can come and check that later and leave your comments about how you found our event. Stefan, do you want to share quickly about our new bronze membership?
Yeah, so my name is Stefan John Mitron. I'm the Vice President of Connect Ottawa, and we have for 2022 developed another series of features for our online business community. Amongst them, 3 types of membership: bronze, silver, and gold. But for today, I'm going to just have a quick summary about what contains a bronze membership for professionals or entrepreneur. Basically, what you have is extended features that consist in an extra community mobile application that goes along with an NFC card. So pretty much an NFC card is like you interact or you Visa, you tap and pay and go. But here is the thing with Connect Ottawa, with that bronze membership VIP card. It's a physical digital product. You put all your information, PowerPoint, website information, phone, email, whatever you need in terms of set of data. And when you tap a smartphone, everything is transferred to the stakeholder's phone in a matter of seconds. And then after, the people you've been networking with, face to face, can review your information. And if they like you and trust you, they probably press call now or set a Zoom meeting or review your brochure, your PDF, whatever you're doing, including your videos on YouTube. And next time you speak to them, they have an opinion about you. And that is a facilitating relationship. And there are many other perks, such as if you have, as a consultant or a coach or a professional, you have a course ready to be shared to the world, you can make a partnership with Connect Ottawa, and that would be distributed on our knowledge center through Unified Remote Workplace.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stefan. Okay, so now we're going to go around the room quickly, and we're going to have everybody introduce themselves. Actually say where you're from, because I know everybody's from all over the world, and who you are, what you do. So Tanya, you're a pro at this. Can we get you to start?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tanya Hewitt from Beyond Safety Compliance. And where I'm from the unceded territories of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe peoples. But in the spirit of supporting others and connecting and having, more interconnections within the Connect Ottawa community, I would just like to celebrate Mayank Sharma. He was the one who reached out to me and asked if I needed help with my health, and I said sure. So he invited me to go to his in-home studio gym. And so I have a regular appointment at his gym on Mondays, only because he reached out to me. So just showing how this Connect Ottawa community can really work, and we can all support each other.
Perfect. Great share. Thank you. Anna.
Hello, everyone. I am sitting here in not so sunny Scotland, and I'm a management consultant. I help SME business owners get to achieve what they want. And along the way, I'm partner with them so that we can reduce the complexity of all these many things that we have to handle in our everyday lives, where we have all the hats on and not so much time to do it in. So I help them to get where they want faster.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. And Alan Roberts.
Hello there, I'm Alan.
Hi.
I'm a mindset coach and I live right in the centre of the UK.
Oh, so that's
Center of where?
I'm about 20 miles south of Birmingham in the centre of England.
Okay. Excellent.
Cool. Nice to have you, Alan.
Thank you.
Michael Nedler.
Yes, good afternoon. I met Bernie on a network group called, I think it was In This Together Roundtable. And that's how I got connected here. So I figured I would meet some new people. I'm a CPA by trade. I'm a CFO. I spent my entire career in the commercial real estate space as a CFO controller. About 15 years ago, I went on my own to become a fractional CFO, working with individuals, organizations that are either have own real estate, need some help. I help service providers and not-for-profits re-engineer how they do what they do to improve their bottom line. Always looking to connect, learn something new every day, share my resources, pay it forward, and always love to learn something new every day, because Einstein said, once you stop learning, you start dying. So we're all here to keep on living.
Let's keep on this side, eh?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Glad to
Thank
have
you.
you here. Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori. I am an operations specialist for small businesses and solopreneurs. My job is really to dive into and do my due diligence with people's operations and seeing where they can improve their processes and their SOPs and help them integrate any better automation. And I apologize if you hear my little office manager in the background.
No, don't apologize. Don't apologize.
And it's all right. We don't hear anything.
Oh, there she goes.
Thanks, Lori.
All right, I have it written.
Okay, Mayank.
Hi everyone, this is Mayank from MS Bodyworks. I'm a certified health coach, health and wellness coach, and I have a studio in Ottawa. I do online, offline, both coaching. And thank you, Tanya, for the great work. She's very enthusiastic, very passionate about health and wellness, and she's doing a great job. So congratulations, Tanya.
Cool.
You're so nice. Good. And what else? Nothing else, actually. This is it.
That's it for today? Okay. And Julia.
Hi, I'm the business development manager for Get Ready. That's the company that Scott, the speaker today, works for or is the president of. And so I work to support Scott and the team at Get Ready. And I'll let Scott explain a bit more about the company. I'm in Stratford, by the way.
I'm in Stratford. Okay, well, great to have you on here, Julia.
Thank you.
And I know we've got a Julie Chauvin. Not sure if you can come on or not. No. Okay, what about Angela Day? And that's okay if you can't come on. And then we're going to, or yes, you can come on. Okay, Angela Day.
Hi, sorry, I'm joining you from my sofa today. So I'm guessing you're looking for your intros. So I'm Angela from Inner Pathways. I'm in Hamilton in Scotland, and I'm a kinesiologist, a transformational coach, and a hypnotherapist. And I love working with anyone who's got stuff going on in their lives. And I'm going to go off camera to eat my dinner.
Okay, I love it. And I like that big red monster behind you too.
Animal. Love it.
Always good for conservation. Oh my God, conversation. Okay. Bernie, how about you? Who are you, Mr. Franz Grote?
Well, I'm just that guy that connects people. So Bernie Fransgrove, Creative Insight Consultants. More people-to-people connection than B2B. And Connect Ottawa is an end result. And I meet folks and I connect them. And I can keep going, so I won't. And over to you, Margaret. And tell us about yourself.
Okay, me. I connect people. I'm the social hub. My brain is a little bit mush today. This is not normal, as you guys know, for me. So I'm a business connector. I am loving what we're doing, trailblazing the way for new and innovative things. I'm happy to be partnered with these two guys here, Bernie Fransbroek and Stefan Metral. Stefan Metral has definitely introduced me to things that I've always dreamed about, but never learned a lot about. So if you're interested in hanging on with the Trailblazers and learning more about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotic process automation, you should connect with us, because this is a new way of doing business that we are spreading across the universe. Coming now. So I'm excited about that, but really everything's about helping business owners. So it's how can we be more efficient with less hours in the day? I want more time for fun and play. So if that sounds interesting to you, you should reach out and talk to us. Stefan, how about you?
So I'm Stefan Metro. I'm a collaborator and shareholder of Connect Ottawa. I also run other businesses in the sector of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and smart process automation, formerly known as robotic, but robotic was not cool, so it has been replaced by smart. I hope that you're pleased with that new acronym. And technically, what I do, I transform everybody's business into a digital ecosystem where it is simpler to communicate, to work with it, and to communicate with your ideal customer, because we all need to be specific versus being generalist. When you're specific, people know why they are coming to you and need your help to achieve something.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thanks a lot, Stefan. And Bobby, I see you hopped on. So let's go for a quick introduction there.
Bobby the Coffee Guy, .ca.
Now that is too easy. If you like coffee, you need to reach out to Bobby the Coffee Guy. Or tea. Done. Okay, and on that note, you know what? We saved the last for best, and Bernie is going to introduce our dynamic speaker today. So Bernie, take it away and let's hear about Scott.
Absolutely. Folks, let me introduce Scott Ashley. He's the president and CEO of Get Ready Online, Inc., an organization of resilience, professional services, and tech company. It provides relevant emergency management, emergency operations center, and business continuity planning, plus infection control programs. That's always important. Get Ready has a custom Canadian company. It's cloud-based and enables their customers to gain easy access to emergency information at their desktop, or I guess on their mobiles, depending on what's happening with the desktop at the time. Get Ready is an NRC IRAP partner, further enhancing Canadian expertise to respond to incidents with speed and confidence. And they also have 12 years of experience. Well, Scott has 12 years of experience in EMS. In his early years, he was a paramedic in Alberta, LA, wow, City of Toronto, EMS, and ultimately he worked for 8 years for a critical care flight paramedic on Bandage 1 helicopter based out of Toronto. Scott has founded companies that focus on incident management programs, solving problems for Fortune 500 businesses, hospitals, professional firms, and all levels of government. Scott is a member of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Business-Led Recovery Council, and a co-founding member of FedDev-sponsored Niagara Falls Ryerson Innovation Hub, Safe Site Global also consortium. So I kind of did a mouthful rapidly. Scott, you're going to do a better job. Over to you, Scott.
Geez, well, thanks, Bernie. It's a real pleasure to meet all of you, and thank you so much for your time. It's a nice sized group today, so I'm going to be, I'll go through the slides. There's not a bunch of them, not too many, so I'll get through those. And if there's anything that pops up and you want to talk about it, just we were talking before about raising your hand and stuff, but it's a fairly small group, so just speak up and we can have a conversation. But at the end, we're trying to save some time so we can have some questions and answers, or just a more continuous discussion. So yeah, with that, let me share my slides here, and I'll just sort of go through these. So Get Ready is our company, and we came up with the name because in Canada, the emergency management is Get Prepared, and in the States, it's ready.gov. And we thought, well, everyone knows the term get ready. Come on, get ready, kids. We got to get in the car, get ready for this, get ready for that. But we thought it sort of made some sense, and we call it readiness. And do you have readiness? Are you ready to go and stuff like that? So that's really the goal of it. We've got about 45 people, all from either sort of a critical care EMS background, police, RCMP, and I differentiate the separate, part of it. We have different people from hostage and bomb techs and so on, fire and emergency management, and obviously we have some tech people as well. And it was an interesting story, but I'll tell you at the end here, we did a merger, and I think it's the second last slide, but we did the merger to create Trillium Health Partners in Mississauga. And that was taking Credit Valley Hospital and Mississauga General and another one, over 14,000 employees, 3 hospitals, and they all had different systems. Well, we built this, we separated policy from procedure, which I'll talk about, but we created binders, and the binders had to be this thick. And I said, oh my God, this is the last time we're doing this. And every single person walking around the hospital always had their phone in their hand. And I'm like, you know what, we need an app. And so we started building that, and that was really so that you could have instant access and the information ready at your fingertips. What do we do when there's a bomb, a spill, a shooter, a flood, this, that, the other thing, right? So, but what I want to talk about is not just what we do, but the guidelines, the premise that we work in. Because we have all of these, emergency response specialists, one of the things we found over the years, and part of the reason we started this business, every time we went to a disaster or an emergency, as paramedics, as police, whatever, everyone always said the same sort of thing, well, I was just going to call 911. Well, you need to have plans. You need to be prepared before that. And so when we start looking at it, you need to create a list. And this 5 points, is really critical. So create the risk factors that your organization is mostly concerned about. If you live near a floodplain, think about floods. If you're think about forest fires, think about the stuff we're seeing in the news. Are you is a cyber attack a concern for your business? Would you be out of business? Your supply chain, all that kind of stuff. What are the incidents that are going to impact you? Do you have a warehouse? Do you have an alternate warehouse? Things like that. And then a lot of organizations will build giant policy documents, and they're lovely if you're an auditor or you like to read millions of pages, but they're not practical, because when the building's on fire, you don't want to flip through to page 32 and go, oh, this is what the staff need to do, and then go to page 45, and this is what the manager needs to do, and then go to 211 and find out what the owner or the executive team or security or whatever, right? So what we've tried to do is separate those policies from procedures. People always say the same thing. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do. And that's their checklist. And that's what we really try and separate. So when you're thinking of making policies, they call them policies and procedures. Keep it that way. Keep them distinct and separate. Make it accessible through a cloud tool if you can. Make sure that it's not in your own system. If your own system gets hacked or goes down, or you have a cyber attack, you lose all your information. And we use a Canadian company. There's 3 approved by the federal government: Microsoft, Amazon, and a company out of Toronto called ThinkOn. And they have they're a risk-based, risk level secure company with the federal government, and they offer Canadian domiciled cloud services. So it's not in the U.S. It's not. They have the ability to go into the U.S. and the UK and different places around the world. But for our clients, hospitals and municipalities and businesses, they want to know that the content is in fact in Canada. So that's an important piece to think about. Training, regular training, practicing, exercising is really important. They're called perishable skills, and all of you, I'm sure, at some point have taken a first aid course or a CPR course. Well, the average is they'll estimate that 75 to 80% of the information is gone in 6 months. And yet they give you a 3-year certification. And it's like, guys, if you haven't taken a course in 1,000 days, don't touch me, right? You have to practice this stuff and think about it. And where is the first aid kit and all that kind of stuff? Well, where is your emergency plan? If you were developing a business continuity plan, how often do you need to update who your suppliers, your vendors, all those kinds of, all that information needs to be updated and practiced and reviewed. So anyways, that's really the focus of it. This is what our tools turned out now. This is in a hospital setting, but it applies to some of our other clients, industry. Sanofi Pasteur, the vaccine manufacturer, is one of our larger clients, and they use this for all their emergency capabilities. But they'll pick a code, so they'll hit emergencies, and you can see all the different codes there. And then what happens is this, and this is how we roll these out. You want to keep it simple. Call, pick, and click. Call for help. Pick the incident type. Oh, we have a hazardous spill. Click on that. And then if you're switchboard, staff, security, the team, the department, the manager on call, the executive team, whatever, click, and there is your checklist. And it's like lines in a play. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. And people love it. Your training time is minimal because it's easy. It makes sense, and they just follow their list. But it's finding that list in a disaster, in an emergency, in a fire, a flood, a power outage. You know, where is that? And you have to keep it simple. So you can put it on desktop, you can put it on their mobile, you know, easy stuff. For larger organizations, we have these forms and dashboards. So we can be looking for a bomb in a university campus or a building, or, you know, a shopping mall or something like that. Well, by the time you get all the information from all the different departments and sites and stores or whatever, it takes a long time. With this app, people can go, I'm in building 5, I'm in department 7, and I checked here, click, 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 and hit submit. And then they can see live in real time who's found it, who didn't, who's completed their search, and they know who's evacuated the building if we had to get out for a fire. You know, who's locked down if we had a shooter or we had a problem. So these are things that people want instant information on. We have this incident tracker. So if you're a multi-site organization or a large organization that has a lot of things on the fly, then you can see live in real time. This is an example of Brantford Hospital, but they could have a code blue, a cardiac arrest going on. They also have a missing kid. They also have a spill, and they have a code white. So someone's, you know, having a fight in the emergency department or something like that. And you can see this on the desktop. And for the executive to decide, where do we send resources? How do we support our people? What's the risk management? Did we make the right decision? Well, you can see in real time what's going on and when some things are ramping up and other things are starting to clear and come to an end. This is what we call Incident of the Month or Training of the Month for our EOC programs, for our first aid stuff, for our infection control. People, you know, if you ask staff and managers, you know, do you have an hour, 2 hours, half a day for training? Nobody ever does. You know, it's hard to book it. But do you have 5 minutes? Yeah, they got 5 minutes. And they'll watch a 3, 4, 5 minute long video once a month. They answer a couple little multiple choice questions that are continually randomized so people can't share the answers. And that's what provides validation to the testing. They watch, what do I do for this? A fire, a flood, a spill, whatever. What if we have a tornado? What do I do? Click, 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 click. They hit submit, and the management can see and pass. And when we put this program in at Niagara Health, down in the Niagara Falls area, it's the largest multi-site hospital in Ontario, 7 locations, 7 sites like St. Catharines and, you know, Fort Erie and Niagara Falls and so on. And they did a lot of things really well when it came to accreditation, but they didn't get it all. And one of the big stumbling blocks was proving that they trained their employees and their staff and nurses and everyone, right? And what they would do is huddles. Well, when we brought in the LMS, they could all watch it. And we knew they watched it because they had to log in and do the test. And within, I think it was about 6 weeks, they ended up getting their full accreditation from Accreditation Canada. So it was really seen as a big win. Our Emergency Operations Center, we run this for municipalities across Ontario right now. And this has been a part with the National Research Council to bring that greater situational awareness to the tool, so they can see when the fire trucks arrived or when, you know, OPP or whoever, so we can get a sense of what's actually happening better at the scene. But this is saved, again, it's people are mobile, they're on their laptop, they're on their mobile device. With COVID, they're not all going to be sitting in the boardroom. And so instead of having binders and paper, they're able to do this. And you know, let's say that Bernie was the logistics person in the EOC, and he had ordered a bunch of generators to arrive. Well, Margaret Ann could phone him and say, hey, Bernie, how's it going? Or he's probably busy and she's busy. Or she could just look on her phone on the app and see that the order's been placed and it's the ETA for that delivery is 6 hours or whatever. And you can share that information without bothering everybody, and people love that part. Let's talk about business continuity. I'm sure most of you have spoke to your clients or other business partners and stuff. One thing that COVID did was really highlight the fact that most organizations actually aren't ready for much. And in the government, and did we have, think back 2 years ago, did we have ventilators in our hospitals? No, not enough. Did we have masks? Did we have we didn't even have vaccine for a long time, obviously, but all the things we didn't even have, hand sanitizer and different things. So how does that work now for your business? Do you have a supply chain? Do you know your supply chain? Do you have contracts in place? Do you have shipping partners? Is there going to be delays? Reputational issues, things like that. Anna from the UK there, and we use the Business Continuity Institute, which is the sort of the global standard based out of London, England, and it's the BCI Business Continuity Institute, and we use their guidelines. There's a Canadian chapter here, and this is really what we try and do is look at each business unit or process and put some sort of risk level to it. And this is called maximum allowable downtime. So what is our risk? Well, what if our email's not working? Is that a problem? Is it a problem if our phone's not working? We did some work with Fidelity Investments, and the owner of Fidelity out of Boston years ago said, every time a phone rings at Fidelity, it has to be picked up on the second ring. Because if we don't care about your money, you're going to find somebody else that does. And that was the owner's really strong point, to make sure that it was answered. Well, what if their phone system goes down? We were talking to some folks at CIBC, and I forget what it was exactly, but I'll say it was $100 million for every half hour the phone systems went down for lost trading revenue. Huge. So, what are your business models? What are your practices? Are you delivery? Do you send construction people out to a home, renovations, all these companies? Is that a problem if it's delayed? Or what if you needed extra vehicles or things like that? So you decide, and you're either we're good, we're busy, there's delays, and you hit that risk line. It exceeds your capabilities. Now we're in trouble, and then we're out of business, right? We're closed. And so what does that look like? Well, these are the 8 critical strategic priorities that we use. Again, BCI's guidelines on this. What's going on with our people, our facilities and infrastructure? If you've had an ice storm and you've lost your power, the building's fine, but there's no power, and the people maybe can't come into work because the highways are closed. Things like that. Is your IT system and applications, are they up? Is there a problem with your internet provider? People say the internet doesn't go down, but Bell, Rogers, TELUS, all those organizations, they might have an issue. Your own communications and product services, again, supply chain, your physical equipment, vendors, processing partners. What if we've seen this now for the last year or more with all the manufactured parts, including automobiles. They can't get the chips. Try and order a fridge these days and see if you can get a fridge in the next 6 months. Try and order a hot tub, try and order a car. All these things, they're really struggling, right? Customers and reputation. If there's a problem, people are on Facebook, they're on Twitter in seconds. You need to be able to combat that. You need to be able to get ahead of that incident, of that storm that's going on. And so these are tools that you can use. We have them, but I'm just sharing this with you because I think many of you could point out some of these methodologies to your customers or help them think through some ideas. What we do is we gather the information for every single department, and we know their facility, the utility, the type of systems. If we had to move offices because we've had a flood or a power failure, what would we need if we were sending 20 staff or 100 staff to another location? What kind of computer systems do we need? Phone, what type of software, security links and setups and passwords, and how would that happen? if people were working from home, again, we saw this. A lot of companies, obviously, in the last 2 years started working from home. But I remember people didn't even know what Zoom was. Right? So, stuff like this, if you have this documented, you're miles ahead, right? Is this your upstream and downstream? If your downstream has a problem, you can't deliver to them. If you're upstream, you're not going to get shipment. So, who's all that? Who's your suppliers and stuff like that? And this is what we call, I think this is really cool. This is the IBIA, the Immediate Business Impact Assessment Tool. Every department or every site, every Canadian Tire, every Tim Hortons, whatever, every manager, every school principal, whatever, could sit here and go, how are my people, my communications, my product and service, whatever that is. And this is all customizable. These could be different words. But infrastructure and equipment, supply chain, logistics, IT, reputation, and you're either going green, yellow, orange, red, black. Click, 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 and hit submit. And we're doing a test right now with a school board in Ontario. They have just over 100 schools. Well, every day at 8 o'clock in the morning, the principal or vice principal has to phone the board office and go, hi, Scott here. We have power. The lights are on, the toilets flush, the teachers have shown up today, the school buses are coming in, We're ready for school. They hang up the phone, the next principal phones the school board office, and the next, and the next, and the next. And then they do this every 2 hours. And even then, the superintendents don't know the status until it's published by the admin staff. Well, what if they all just went, pick their zone, pick their school, secondary, elementary, whatever, click, 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 hit submit, and now everyone live in real time in 2 minutes knows the status. Or if an ice storm or tornado touches down or a flood or something, they would know at 2:15 in the afternoon which schools have power, which schools don't even have a roof, which schools have injuries, that kind of stuff. So this immediate situational awareness, as we tell people, and with our ELC program years ago when I was a medic on the helicopter, there was a big disaster going on, and we had a mayor, and I was in this police car in the back with the mayor, and there was another supervisor, and we were going to this location, and this poor fellow was a retired lawyer, and he was now the mayor. And all he kept doing was saying, don't let me look like an idiot, And he had no idea how an emergency operations center ran. He had never been in one. When we do training with some of the people, we'll joke and say, some of you can't even spell EOC, because they have no reference to it. Usually your fire, your police, those folks, they know how to do it. But then you get someone from HR or finance from the municipality or the region, and they're like, I've never been in an EOC. So it's again, that rapid decision-making capability. And then every organization needs some alternate strategies. If we're going to close this office and move somewhere else, what do we need to do? Does the strategic level, they need to free up some money or arrange some travel or support? Does the tactical team need to be ready at the receiving end? The person packing up the boxes or getting the staff out? What are they doing at that? So everyone has these and it's really on two simple points. You either reduce demand or increase capacity. When you have an alternate strategy, you have to plan for. And when you talk to people about keeping it simple, they love it. With our stuff, they can click on these things. So this is they'll fill this in, they'll see the results. If they click on this little icon or over on the desktop, there's icons, it'll take them right into their alternate strategic plan. And they can see what they need to do and how they need to do and what their options are. And it works, it's simple, right? I just want to take a minute here and show you Poppy, or tell you a little bit about this. This is one of the partners that we've been working with for over a year now. This is not in emergency response. These are all just a brilliant group of people. I would say 80% of them are at least have one PhD. And Poppy is a pathogen monitoring system. It's about the size of a smoke detector in your house. Little unit, and it filters the air, little quiet fan, you hardly hear the thing. And in the background, it's drawing the air in, and what it'll do it'll pick up any airborne pathogen, and there's over 1,000. But it'll pick up COVID, but influenza, Ebola, whatever. It's gonna pick up all these kinds of things, flu, seasonal flu, whatever. And so you can actually see what's going on. And even at a micro level, if I take my hand and hit it down onto my desk, or I set some papers down onto the desk, it creates little eddies, and these pieces get airborne again. Or when people cough, they always talk about that 2-meter distance. Well, the 2-meter distance isn't really accurate or relevant, because when I cough, it might go out to 2 meters, and then some of it, heavier things, are going to land, but the lighter particles are going to maybe float around and go to a different space. Well, what we've been able to do with Poppy is put these into buildings. So like CIBC is now putting this in globally in their sites. Morgan Stanley, Vancouver Airport's been using this for a bit now, where they're now putting them in super yachts. There's over 500 companies that are now using it. Part of the thing is they want to be able to not just show their staff or tell their staff, but actually prove that they've put in protocols that are working, because they can do the testing and see if there's actual COVID or outbreaks in the air. When we discover an outbreak, we're usually 5 to 7 days ahead, so we can actually stop a larger outbreak from happening within the organization. We quickly identify it was found. Here's the 7 people that were in that area. You guys are now quarantined. You're staying at home. We can go in and deep clean and keep the organization operational. So with what we've done from Get Ready's side is we provide all the incident response. And so we'll talk to the client and tell them how to proceed and what they need to do in terms of cleaning. The rules are changing all the time, as we all know, right? And people go, should we send them home for, is it 5 days, 10 days, 14 days? It changes all the time. So, and they have an app and a tool, and it's been a real pleasure, and it's been very interesting to be able to work with Poppy. So it's something, if you want some information on later, we can share that out or get it out to you. I'm showing this daily screening tool, and this is always a tough spot for everybody, because this pandemic's been, it's been exhausting for most, and I think people in general are just tired of it and they want it over. Well, have you heard about the stealth Omicron, or the BA2 variant of the Omicron virus? Well, in China right now, they're having the biggest outbreak they've ever had. Denmark is now virtually closing down, and about 2 months ago, they opened up entirely. In England, they're getting it, and so it's more virulent or more health risk than Omicron is. It's apparently as spreadable, and I think the jury's still out, but this is the kind of information we've been getting. My point simply is, a lot of your clients in your own operations and stuff, this is probably going to circle it back. We're all in Ontario here in Canada. Our government's talking about getting rid of masks on March 21st and opening things up again. And it's just going to be bad timing. And what we're trying to tell our clients is, don't just pack this up and put it away like you're done with it. Because by April, May, June, quite likely, you're going to be pulling it back out again. And then it's even more frustrating to get people to re-engage if you've completely shut it all down. So if you can keep them thinking about it, keep your screening active, have a record of who was there and what's going on, talk about the masking. It used to be we were told to wear masks so that we didn't cough it out. Now people should be wearing masks because a guy 100 yards away an hour ago might have coughed it out and it's floated down through the mall or the grocery store. And so you're wearing masks, not just to cough it out, but also to prevent inhaling it in or using your respiratory tract as the route of infection. So, people talk about N95 masks and KN95 masks, a higher quality mask to prevent you from inhaling those viruses. And that's what that kind of thing is about. But I put this up on the screen. We've got a simple tool. We have hundreds of clients who use it every day. And we've been getting calls from people saying, I think we're going to, stop using this. And it's like, just hold on a little bit, because it's going to be a lot harder to get people re-engaged than if you don't. So anyways, that's a screening tool. At the end of the day, they see all the results on the dashboard. They can sort it in seconds. It's touchless. People don't want to use pens and papers, and the managers don't want to pick up that pile of papers at the end of the day and sort it all. And the person at the end of the week nobody wants to do that. If it's touchless and it's digital and it's on your phone and it's a QR code, click, 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 click. It's easy, it's simple, and that's the kind of thing we sort of look at. And this collectively is all the different types of custom tools that we have. And thousands and thousands of content and procedures. So if you have a client, we're happy to work with any of you. Hopefully this is helpful in some of your conversations for your own business and for your customers and stuff. If they want more information, or we're always happy. We have a lot of referral partner groups that we work with. Bernie and I have talked for a long time, and we all know that we don't know everybody. So we certainly count on the notion of connecting and using that ability to connect. And that's why I'm thrilled to be here today, and I appreciate the time. And this was the result we did from a survey at Trillium. When they surveyed before we came in, they had about a 30% employee confidence rating. And 2 months after we had installed and implemented the program, we had an 84%. Well, out of over 14,000 people, the executives saw that as just a huge win. And, obviously made the organization more resilient, reduced the number of accidents, reduced the downtime, and so on. So anyways, that's really the goal and the fun of it. So, I think you guys, have an email or my contact information, but I've talked enough. So
Scott, I think that was amazing. It was really good. Maybe if you want to go into a group discussion, has everybody got his information? We'll stop screen sharing.
Yeah.
It'll just make it easier to see everybody.
So folks, if you're going into groups, just make sure to save the chat. That way it stays on board with you.
Okay. I have a question. So I'm very good presentation. Thank you very much. So I guess at first I was thinking this was for huge corporations. Like what is the size of the places that use this? How many?
So we have companies with less than 20 staff using the daily screening tools, for example. The emergency management stuff, we've done them for, I would say most of the groups have at least 50 people. We've done, smaller organizations, they'll have 50, 75, 80 people, but they go, what would we do if we had a bomb threat? What would we do? They have no idea, right? Most people have a bit of a medical plan. They'll have their first aid and stuff like that. Maybe they'll have a defibrillator on site. They have to pretty well have a fire plan if they want building insurance. But everything else in between, they don't know. If you have a hazardous spill, are you going to call a vendor? Are you going to clean it up yourself? Who should you call? They haven't even considered some of these kinds of things, right?
You did.
I got to admit one thing, Scott. The training session that takes 20 to 30 minutes versus the 5-minute one. Yes, I've lived and been through those environments, and I had staff. I looked at everybody. Okay, everybody get a computer and log in, and it's like, oh my gosh. And when English is not your first language, it gets more entertaining.
Right.
And so, it's a true thing. Do you find there's any legislation coming up that is going to require people to have these plans established, and depending on size of business?
So certainly, so yes and no. There are business sectors that are legislated and mandated to have emergency plans, certainly like hospitals, long-term care, schools, and education and things like that, because again, they're considered to have vulnerable crowd audience, whether it's an elderly person or a young child or whatever, right? Daycares and things like that. But I also know that the WSIB in Ontario's model, and I know this is the same in the States and lots of places, is not going to be based on so much a government insurance model, but a private sector model. In other words, if your claims experience goes up, and this works in Ontario anyways, but if your claims experience goes up, your rates are going to go up. And employers have a responsibility. This is what we call in Ontario here. This is called the Little Green Book, as everyone knows it as. But this is the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and I think it's written at about a font 2, so they got so much.
So nobody can read
here.
it.
No one can read it. But the quick cut to the chase line in this is, it is the employer's responsibility to ensure a safe workplace. And so at the end of the day, the bottom line is, whether it's spills or materials or equipment or manufacturing, harnesses, fall arrest systems, whatever, you have to have the right stuff in place. You have to train your staff. You have to have inventory. You have to do equipment checks. And we find most companies, they don't even have anything like that in place. There's no record of how many times did they check the harness, did they check the ladder. If you're working in confined space, a lot, again, big problems like that. So,
well, even when you're saying ladders and stuff like that, like, coming from the country here, and I know a lot of tradespeople, and it's looked like the rules never really applied to them. And so I was really happy. And I don't know how many years ago it finally came in that it was mandatory to have like the $300 course.
Working at heights.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And yet I just know a lot, and it's a change, it's a shift. So I'm pretty sure that the young ones would think the same, but it's either ignorance, like we don't know what we don't know, because we just never really thought about it. A lot of people start a business, they get caught up in it, and they never even think about procedures and stuff. Their thing is, hey, we got to get in. I owned a restaurant, and I actually worked in restaurants, and I really never got introduced to plans like that would be protocols until I worked in IT. And I was like, are you kidding? They care what happened to us?
What you're saying, Margaret Ann, the WSIB also applies in what you're saying. So you can't just say when you're audited by somebody at WSIB, well, I didn't know that. It's your responsibility as a business owner to actually know it. So whether it's slips, trips, falls, that kind of thing, or COVID. So a lot of organizations, even in the Ottawa area, have been audited to see if they were meeting the requirements in the legislation and protecting, because as Scott said, it's the employer's responsibility to protect the worker. That applies to COVID. So are they screening people? Are people masking? What is the right thing to do as an employer to ensure that the people that work for you are protected? So a lot of people didn't think of COVID as something that was their responsibility as an employer to think about.
Well, and it's funny, and I'll hold this mask up. We've all seen, quite frankly, way too many of these things in the last couple of years. But almost every organization just gave them to their staff, and they never trained them. And you see people all the time, they'll put it on, they'll go like this, they'll rub it, and then 10 minutes later, they'll pull it down, they'll drink a coffee, they'll put it back up, then they'll rub their eyes, and infection control, like employers have to teach their staff how to use a mask, how to wash your hands. We see people all the time, they'll go squirt, squirt. They'll do one of these. All right, I'm good. Well, wait a second. You didn't get in between your fingers. Nobody ever washes their thumbs, the backs of their hands, that kind of stuff, right? This is not rocket science. And yet, if you're truly following WSIB or some, health and safety related, industry legislation, insurance, whatever, that's the kind of stuff that's going to get you. And if you end up having a little outbreak and you have 2, 3, 4, 5 staff, 10, 100 staff off, whatever the case, A, that's a cost. B, it's an operational cost. Your business is certainly losing money. Your customers and clients might go, you know what? I don't think we're going to buy it from those guys. We'll get it from these guys now. They had an outbreak and this and that, and it just creates reputational issues. So the shockwave from that one single event, and it took 1.5 minutes to teach someone how to properly use their mask or wash their hands. So all of these things are pieces of the package. And I think that's where people forget. We have a program. I went into a company years ago, and this was part of the reason we got into the business continuity piece, but I went into one of the largest mining companies in the world. And we were looking at what they called their crisis management plan. And there was a definition, and they had about whatever it was, 6, 8 bullet points that meant they had a crisis. If they had more than 2 fatalities at the same time from an incident, because in mining, people can get killed from time to time, but if 2 or more died, that was a problem. And then if the stock value and this and that, and there was a few items, and if any of those things happened, they were to call and bring together the team of everyone who was on that list as the crisis management team. The team had 12 people, 12 names on the list. One guy was still working with the company. The rest had retired or had deceased. That's how old the list was. And I'm like, guys, when's the last time you even looked at this? Well, it was over a decade. So if you're not maintaining and updating and practicing and training, you know, so those are all part and pieces of it. Yeah.
Great. Mayank?
So I wanted to talk about what Scott said about the mask thing and like protecting the employees and stuff. Like if you go to any regular grocery store or any business, right? Even the blue ones, the masks that are like supposed to be like the use and throw ones, right? Some of the employees, even the boss, even the managers, even the customers, they wear it and then they go out and then they put the mask, the blue one, the cheap one in the pocket and they put it back again. I don't think they're supposed to do that. Any mask, you know, like it's just, there has to be no contact between the mask and the fabric.
Well,
right?
So to your point, just to be clear, this is the dirty side and this is the clean side, right? The white side. So when you inhale stuff, it's supposed to get caught up in the outside of the mask, ideally, okay?
Yeah.
If you're protecting yourself, if you're coughing with your own germs, you don't care because they're your own anyways, right? But if I'm wearing this mask, so if I took this mask off using these and I'm at work, I'm going to take this mask. I've worn it for an hour or 2 or whatever. I'm going to drop it in the garbage and I'm going to get a new mask.
Yeah.
What I do, if I ran into a store, you know, for 2 minutes or gas station or something like that, I'll take it and I fold it over on itself. And then I can put it back on if I go to another gas station or stop at the grocery store for 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. And the next thing is that, like, even if you go to any place nowadays, people have this thing in their mind that it's done now. Like everybody is practically in Canada. I'm talking about Canada. Everybody's practically waiting for the 21st. Yeah. And even the employees and stuff, like some people are like so happy, you know what, I'm going to throw it away. I'm going to burn it away, this and that. And I'm ready to go. And you're right. Like if we, you know, go that fast right now, and then in 100 days from now, this thing comes back again, it would be so hard for people to get back into the COVID life or the precaution, right?
Well,
so what do you think would be the best solution for the employers to incorporate for like, what would be the solution to that? Like if
yeah, so I think, you know, we often tell clients and we'll say to people, you know, err on the side of caution. And okay, the government is going to let things open up and that's fine if you want to, you know, go out and about in your own community or whatever. But in the workplace here at our office or our, you know, whatever your environment is, we're going to continue masking. And if you're up moving around, we would encourage you to wear the mask. Well, you have to wear the mask. If you're sitting at your own desk or whatever, or you're in your own room, you know, fine. But we really want, you know, people, because you watch and see, and I hope I'm wrong, but I you know, I've talked to a number of people about this and we've got a pretty good advisory group, you know, that we can gain information on and just look in the news, look what's happening in Denmark and China and the Philippines. And, you know, it's unfortunately probably going to come here. And we're going to get hit again. And the other part is, it's, you know, people forget what this is. They think it's just COVID. They think it's the pandemic and it's done. 100 years ago, there was this little pandemic called the Spanish flu. 100 years later, have you guys ever heard of the flu? We still have the flu 100 years later. You know, 100 years from now, we're probably going to have COVID. And hopefully it's more like a seasonal cold, but the new cold will be called COVID cold kind of thing, right? If we're lucky. But you can be vaccinated, you can you could get the disease, it morphs, you could catch it again.
Absolutely.
So that's why these seasonal flu shots.
I'm going to have to bring us to a close. We're a little bit over time right now. Sorry, Scott. You know what? It was a great presentation. I think we talked for another half hour. Now, if anybody wants to hang around for a little longer, that's fine. However, we usually wrap this up by 2 o'clock out of respect for everybody's time, because we know how everybody's bouncing from meeting to meeting. So, Bernie, do you want to tell us quickly who's coming up next Tuesday?
Quick, easy stuff. First off, 5 minutes after the hour, our survey is going in. Number 2. Next week is going to be really interesting. Bidding for U.S. government contracts by Mike Minahan. He's going to be talking about if you're going to do work in the U.S. and you want to do bids, how to set yourself up for U.S. government bids. So cool. That's a handy one. Scott, I wanted to make sure you knew about that because, hey, traveling roadshow is important. Yeah, and absolutely. We have an event coming up on Thursday. I'll let you talk about that, Margaret Ann.
Okay, Thursdays, it's our VIP event, and we're going to be talking about customer service. I dropped a link in the chat box there with our different varieties of membership. And so it should be good. Every week we have some good conversation with practical tips that you can take back and use in your business today. Scott, I want to thank you so much. That was a great, great presentation. And
well, thanks.
I'm just trying to figure out, we need to get your link, and I guess and put it and invite you into Connect Ottawa so you can share a bit more information about there. Because I'm kind of curious now. Well, here, we'll go off live streaming. So I'm going to go off live.